I would like to introduce some recent analysis about rosette-mode, which have been done in collaboration with Takata Saio from Tohoku University. Okay. The first question is, of course, what are rosette modes? And these modes are first found by Jerome Ballot and collaborators in 2012 in their numerical calculations. And these modes constitute a class of eigenmodes found in rotating stars in the G-mode frequency range. But the frequency is not so low, and it's still outside of the inertial domain. The most characteristic feature of these modes is its structure of eigenfunctions. What are shown in the right figures are the distribution of kinetic energy of these modes on meridional plane. And these modes we call rosette patterns. That is the most important feature of these modes. Okay, this point can be clearer if we compare these modes with ordinary modes. In the case of ordinary modes, which is shown in the left panel, kinetic energy distributes almost everywhere in the stars. But in the case of rosette mode, we can find very confined distribution of it. So this is a very big difference. And of course, the next question is, how are these modes formed? And the key point to answer this question is the close degeneracy among eigenmodes. This is L-omega diagram of polytropic model with index 3, in which we see a lot of close degeneracy, which means a set of eigenmodes that have almost the same frequency. Okay, each horizontal line indicates one family of close degeneracy. So we see a lot of close degeneracy in G-mode frequency range. This can be understood based on a symptotic formula according to which the frequencies is proportional to the ratio between spherical degree L and radial order n. And if we consider a set of eigenmodes which have common value of L over n, we can easily understand that they have almost the same eigenfrequency. And if we consider rotation, it induces interaction among those closely degenerate eigenmodes. And the real reason for the interaction is the second order effect of the Coriolis force. This process can be precisely described by so-called quasi-degenerate perturbation theory. And here we regard rotation as a small quantity. So we do not need rapid rotation to have rosette modes. And as a result of this analysis, we can understand that the eigenfunction of rosette mode can be expressed by linear combination of non-rotating eigenfunctions. Okay, one thing I should add here is that each family of close degeneracy has one linear relation between n and L, which are shown here. So each family of close degeneracy is characterized by this one linear relation between n and L. And the next point is how we can understand the structure of rosette pattern. To answer this question, we performed a symptotic analysis of rosette modes. The main goal of this analysis is to relate the close degeneracy and the structure of rosette pattern. And what we got eventually is the formula which captures essential part of the rosette patterns Okay, on the right figure, we see light green curves. This is the essential part of the structure. And these curves are described by this equation. Here, ZR is a radial function defined by this with Brandt Weissel frequency n and eigenfrequency in the non-rotating limit sigma. And theta is polar angle, and we additionally have two parameters, k and q. K is an integer, which is defined by this, 2b over a. And a and b characterizes a family of close degeneracy. So k is the key parameter to relate the structure of rosette pattern and close degeneracy. And another parameter q is a real number, which indicates the order of rosette modes in a given family. And these two parameters have clear geometrical meanings, which I explain here. The first parameter, k, is an integer, and it is related to delta theta, defined by this relation, and it means this angle. On the other hand, a real parameter q is related to another angle, delta phi, which is related to this angle. So the relation is very geometrically understandable. So far, I talked about only polytrope, but it is straightforward to extend the analysis to realistic model. As one example, I picked up 5 solar mass zero-age main sequence star, which can be regarded as a model of SPB stars. And according to the non-adiabatic calculations, we can find a lot of G modes are unstable. Actually, they are excited by Kappa mechanism. And unstable modes are shown in the right panel. What is more important is that we can find a family of close degeneracy, which is indicated by red dashed line here. So we can certainly construct rosette mode by adding rotation to this model. And its structure is totally consistent with what we expect from asymptotic analysis. And we move on further to compute non-adiabatic eigenmodes, non-adiabatic rosette modes based on the program developed by Woo-Min Lee. And the result of the analysis is shown here. The vertical axis means growth rate, and horizontal axis is the normalized frequency. So we see some rosette modes are actually unstable, and others are not. The reason of this difference is rather easy to understand. Stable modes have large contribution from high-degree components, which suffer from significant radiative damping, whereas unstable modes are not affected by such high-degree components. And finally, I talked about effect of rosette mode on angular momentum transport. Here we follow the formulation by Woo-Min Lee in 2013. The main equation of the analysis is this equation. This is just a conservation of angular momentum. Rho is density, Lz is the specific angular momentum about the rotation axis, and F is the angular momentum flux. So what we need to compute is the right-hand side of this equation to study the effect of rosette mode on angular momentum transport. From physical point of view, we can give very naive picture. In the place where prograde rosette modes are damped, we see positive contribution to angular momentum. and other cases can be understood similarly. Okay, this is almost the last slide. What is shown here is the right-hand side of the conservation equation of angular momentum. We see positive contribution for blue regions and negative contribution for red regions. So the structure is rather complicated, but one point I can say is that there exists strong latitudinal dependence in these figures. So corresponding to the structure of rosette modes, we see rather complicated but still latitudinal dependence of structure. This may relate to some dependence of rotation. Rotation may depend on latitude because of this effect. That is one speculation I can have from these studies. This is a summary. Rosette modes are formed by the interaction of closely degenerate eigenmodes. With the same parity of the spherical degree, the interaction is caused by the second-order effect of the Coriolis force. A simple relation can be derived to describe the rosette structures in terms of parameters that specify the close degeneracy. Some unstable modes have been found in the model of SPB stars. Those modes might contribute to the angular momentum transport in the stars in a unique way. Thank you very much for your attention.
So we have time for different questions.
I was wondering, as a modeler, which observational data do you consider to be in high demand?
Sorry, observational data?
Yes. What observational data would you like to have?
Detectability of these modes, you mean?
What observational data would you like as observers to provide you from the Kepler data?
Well, the point is, as we see here, these rosette modes consist of rather high degree modes. So I think it's not easy to detect observationally. What I want to say is these modes may contribute to angular momentum transport, even if they are not detected. That is our point.
Maybe I will add something. They can contribute also to dissipation of tidal effects.
Okay, thank you.
So that could be important to take into account in the tidal dissipation, and they have never been taken into account. You had a question? No? Oh, sorry.
This is a question to perhaps both you and Daniel. I'm trying to relate this to observations, especially to Gamma Doradus stars, where you find that in most cases, the Gamma Doradus frequencies seem to be have Gaussian type envelope, where the maximum of the envelope is typically the rotation period of the star. Can any of these kind of theoretical things explain this observation?
Well, for Daniel?
Well, I think it'd be difficult to answer that question because typically these calculations are linear calculations, so we don't really know what the amplitudes of the modes are. So I think it'll be difficult to know.
Masao, if we assume that these modes are detectable with K2, Kepler mission, you've got normalized frequencies, so I can't tell, will 80 days be enough to resolve the frequency so that we can actually see the pattern?
Well, we haven't studied any specific structure in frequency.
Well, we could propose to observe the bright, known, rapidly rotating B stars, but we need to know the answer to my question before we can make the proposal. So please calculate that for us.
Okay.
I think I have maybe an answer to your question. You've seen that the difference in period is uniform when there is no rotation, and then it has a tendency to decrease, as we have seen in the talk by Tim Beding, which can be well represented by the traditional approximation, but these modes won't follow the traditional approximation. So they will have a very different behavior in terms of period separation. Am I right?
I agree.
So if you find modes, for example, I would say not really rapidly rotating stars, where you can still identify the modes, like the one we've seen by Tim Bedin, you find modes that do not follow at all this law, maybe they are this one. But the fact is that they should not be visible, because they have two IL modes. But as we don't know the amplitude, the mechanisms that set the amplitude, the visibility is not the only criteria to define the amplitude, so they may be visible. Okay, so we move on to the next talk, and we thank again Masao.